Hello, everybody. I am your host, Mike Downer, and I am joined once again with Edgar Ortiz, the managing partner of CMIT Solutions, and we are talking Behind the Firewall. How you doing today, Edgar?
I'm doing amazing, Mike. How's everything?
Everything is going great. I'm excited to learn a little bit more about your services and how you can help benefit companies, and what all this means to the business owners that need. I guess every business owner needs what you do. So, first question. Today we're just going to talk about how you know when your business needs managed IT support. So that's kind of our thing, our topic today. So, what are the signs that a business has outgrown the DIY IT and needs a professional managed technology support?
Um, yeah, that's one of the biggest signs. The are frequent. The business know the frequent downtime, slow network, or employees losing time fixing tech issue instead of doing their jobs. You will see outdated hardware. You will see no backups. You will see or people using personal devices without security controls. Once a business hits around 10 to 50 employees, the IT complexity usually outgrows what one person can actually manage. That's when it's time to bring a managed IT partner. So business needs to understand sometimes that you don't have any controls, you don't have any backups, you don't understand what is your RTO and RPO. RTO means your recovery time objective, and RPO is recovery point objective, because you don't have an actual recovery plan. If you lose your data, how much of your data you can lose, you're allowed to lose. If you something happen in your organization and you actually go down, how much time of recovery you allowed to do before you start losing a lot of money in your organization, and it happens really fast. And a lot of small business don't understand that, and that's when you need to start thinking, I know, I'm bringing someone on board.
No, that sounds like you covered all the warning signs really well for us. So what security red flags tell you a company is at serious risk, like missing backups or lack of cybersecurity policies?
You know, that's a great question. One of the biggest red flags are no backup system.
Right.
Obviously, no cybersecurity plan, and employees using sometimes personal devices without security controls. Another warning sign is when updates and patches are being actually done regularly. That leaves the door open really wide for any attack. If no one's is monitoring your network or testing those backups, it doesn't matter if something fails. It is when it's going to fail. One big thing is backups. People say, "Oh, I'm in the cloud. I have things in the cloud."
Yep.
And I always ask them, "What does that mean? So you took all your stuff and give it to somebody else's computer?" Do you know that Microsoft tells you when you buy their cloud services, Microsoft in section CB, and you can go out and look at it, section 6B says that you need a third-party backup because they're not responsible for your data.
That's scary.
And everyone out there say, "Oh, I'm in the cloud." I was like, "What is the cloud at?" What does that mean? Do you know what does that mean? I asked him, "Do you know? Do you know that your provider, not only Microsoft, but Google and Amazon, is telling you you need a third-party backup. You need to be responsible for your backup, and it's right there in their policies." In the section, nobody reads that because that's just a lot. It's huge, but that's the reason we hear. Yeah, well, that's the reason we here at CMIT Des Moines. We are here at Des Moines protecting you, and that's one of the biggest red flags. When I have a person, I'm in the cloud, but you don't have a backup. Do you don't have a backup plan? Like I mentioned before, do you understand your recovery time objective? That means that is actually how much time you can lose before you start losing money, because you need to start looking into this. You need to start looking how much you paying employees per hour. How much business you lose if you shut down. You need to calculate all that. And when I see those big red flags in businesses and they don't understand it, because like I say, they say, we're in the cloud.
I've heard that many times. So, Edgar, why do many businesses start to struggle with IT when they reach between like 10 and 50 employees?
That is one, usually a point where one person can handle everything. And that's one of the biggest things. They usually have someone that is in the organization that knows a little bit about computer, and they hire someone. They created they onboarding this person. They're trying to handle one person, trying to handle everything, and sometimes that's too much. As the team grows, and you have more devices, softwares, and data, and the complexity is going to skyrocket. So we don't talking about that one person that you have inside of your organization that actually knows a little bit about IT can manage. No, you need to understand the complexity behind it. The data is growing, people is growing, the softwares are growing. So most businesses are still relying on someone who knows, like I say, who knows computer. But that person, already has a full-time job. That it's just because, hey, Mike, you know how to create an email? Come here, just create an email to this new employee. That's when things start slipping. Yep. When I say start slipping through the cracks and downtime and security risk, that's one of the big ones. Increase really fast because you're doing your work full time. It's the thing that you know a little bit about computer, and they tap you and they put you to the batting box and hey, because you know a little bit about computer. But that's when things escalate and kind of drift and go out of the rails.
So that leads me, that was a great answer. To lead me to the next question that I had is, what is the true cost of handling IT cybersecurity internally without a trained professional?
Yes. The true cost is usually hidden. That's just the biggest problem. The true cost is hidden. And it's in lost productivity. It's actually in downtime, in security risk. Actually, studies show that about 85% of small businesses self-manage IT. And a quarter of those admit that the person doing it isn't a properly trained person. So one of the mistakes of miss update. One of the mistakes that they miss updates. It can lead to data loss. A breach that can cost far more. Of what a managed IT provided plan can cost. That is the biggest risk right there. You have an untrained person helping, and because you think, it's like I mentioned before, you're thinking IT expense and cybersecurity is as an expense. It's not. It's actually a value to your business. And when we stop thinking of IT as an expense and cybersecurity as an expense, and now with AI implementation, with all the tools that we need to implement with AI, when you stop thinking about those as an expense and you see it in your P&L as an expense, and you start moving those to the front as a value added to your business, is when things is going to change. And it's about protecting your business.
It's a great answer. So we're going to get a little bit technical, Edgar. How do compliance requirements like HIPAA or PCI DSS change the need for professional IT management?
So compliance is the conversation that most business owners want to avoid. That's pretty much one of the biggest things. They want to avoid that until they can't. If you in healthcare or you in dental, HIPAA requirements, documented security policy, access control, and breach notification procedure, HIPAA requires those. There's no exception for small practices. If you accept credit cards, this is a simple one for small businesses, because a lot of small businesses accept credit cards, and they don't understand. And I can tell you that almost 90% of small businesses, when we conduct a compliance assessment, we discover they're out of compliance for what is called PCI DSS requirements. And that ends of a charge to you. And a lot of small business owners, they don't look their bill, and they think that charge right there is a normal charge for the credit company. No, they charge you because you're out of compliance for PCI. And no one explained that to you. No one sits down with you to analyze that. And in cardholder data, the cardholder data environments, they need those compliance. Every transaction, if you work with financial data, you have FTC safeguards rules mandated. You need to have a written information security program. You need to have cover a wide range of businesses that most owners don't realize. Here's the part that matters. Regulators don't grade on a curve for a small business. A 10-person dental office in Des Moines face the same HIPAA requirements that a 500-person hospital system. So, and I didn't know if that's a defense, because some small business owners, well, I didn't know. That's not a defense. That's not going to save you in front of a judge or in front of a regulators because you didn't know. You're liable for that. Yep. And so as a professional IT, we oversight, we check into all that. There's no optional in any industry. That is the cost of operating legally. That is the cost of operating your business, your PCI compliant, your HIPAA compliant, your FINRA compliant, your FTC for financial advisor. So CMIT Des Moines make sure that our clients are covered. That's the first thing that we go from. We don't give you a big assessment and 100 questions because we want to annoy you. We do it because we want to protect you.
Perfect. That's a great answer and a good peace of mind for the business to know that they are compliant. So, Edgar, after listening to all this, tell me a little bit about what the transition from DIY IT to managed services look like when a business chooses to partner with CMIT Solutions of Des Moines.
That's think about a little bit about this one. So the transition is simple and structured. We start with a full assessment of your current system to see what is working and what is not. Usually with little to no disruption. We don't disrupt your flow, your process. Within the first month, most clients definitely notice a smooth operation, that they are working smoother, they are working faster when we work with them, faster response time. That's what we're trying to do. That's what we're trying to strive to have a faster response. Sometimes we have like a one person that is so expert in that area and we appoint that person. We're trying for you to have fewer headaches. The number one thing that stop business owner for making the switch is fear of disruption. Mm-hmm. They think onboarding will break something, confuse their team, or take weeks of downtime. No, here is actually how CMIT works. CMIT of Des Moines works. We start with the full technology assessment, like I said before. We documented everything in your environment before we touch anything. Before we touch anything, we do that assessment. We learn from your system, your software, your team workflow, how your team work. Then we deploy our monitoring and management tool quietly in the back end. Sometimes you don't even know. You can see maybe a pop-up in your computer or something like that. It's us working in the back end. That's zero disruption to your business. So that's pretty much how we go.
Perfect. So, Edgar, tell me how partnering with a managed services provider compares to hiring a single in-house IT person.
It's a good question. Business owner often ask, should I just hire someone full time?
Yep.
That's a fair question, and here's the honest kind of side-by-side comparison. A mid-level IT hiring here in Des Moines is between $55,000 to $75,000 on salary. That doesn't stop there. Before benefit, before PTO, before cost of their certification. Sometimes you need to help them to get their certification and send them to training because you're moving forward and you having more equipment and more tools. And when they go home at 5 p.m., your system is on monitor. You have that person from 8 to 5, and we know most employee at 5 o'clock, they're shut down and they're gone. And I say, don't call me, I call you. So that's one of the biggest things. But when they, and another thing, when they call sick, you have no coverage.
Or vacation.
Is when they leave and they eventually going to leave, you have a knowledge gap, and and you need to start a search process to hire another internal IT. And sometimes that knowledge gap, they take that with them and they don't document that for the next person. So here at CMIT Solution of Des Moines, we give you a team. We don't give you one person. We give you a help desk. We give you monitoring specialists. We give you cybersecurity expertise. We give you cloud engineers. We give you a strategic advisor for your compliance. We give you a Microsoft experts, all included in a flat monthly rate. So we don't call in sick. We don't take vacations. We don't give you 2 weeks notice. Well, probably. And one IT person is a single point of failure. That's what I see. Having one IT person is a single point of failure. A managed service provider is a system. You have a system. For most businesses, and between 10 to 100 employee range, the math and the risk profile and point to a managed service every time.
The last question I have for you, Edgar, is I'd like you to share some real examples of businesses that waited too long to switch versus those that have moved proactively into getting a managed services provider.
This is a great question. Let me give you two real scenarios.
Perfect.
Obviously, no names, but both happen here in Des Moines, and so kind of number one, the business that waited too long.
Yeah.
A professional service firm about I think it was 25 employees. They have been self-managing their IT for years. They have one person kind of handling things. The person wasn't an employee of the location. He was a person they knew computers, like we mentioned before, and they call them break and fix, if we can put it like that. One person handling on the side,
Okay.
But no tested backup. Never had tested their backup, and even understood their backup system. They had an updated firewall. A ransomware hit on a Friday afternoon. By Monday morning, they lost 3 days of work completely. You shut down. Friday, still Monday morning, and they were completely shut down. And pay a forensic firm to assess the damage and notify the clients of potential data exposure, and spend 2 weeks rebuilding the system from scratch. The total impact, and the biggest one, and this is one that, if I can say it like this, drive me crazy. Why business don't do this? No cybersecurity insurance. Because they didn't know. And if you don't know what you don't know, what are you going to do? You think you have an IT person? And that's how you're working? This is an impact over $75,000. And a client that you're never going to want back, because it's not about the impact of that $75,000 that you lost right there, because now you need to notify your clients, and actually somebody needs to come in and create a forensic analysis of what happened and who we need to notify. That you need to notify the state IG, the attorney general, and the whole deal, and you don't have cyber insurance. It's not about that $75,000. It's about the trust in your clients. Do you think your clients are going to trust you? No, they're not.
No.
They're going to say, give me all my stuff, I'm leaving you. So you're only it's not only going to charge you $75,000 to do all this work, but then calculate the amount of money that you're losing for the people that left you because you lost their data. The businesses that made the switch proactively,
Yes.
then a healthcare company, 18 employee, they call us after a competitor got hit with a ransomware. So they understood, they saw someone else that got hit with a ransomware. They call us. That was their wake-up call. We onboarded them in 30 days and less. And 6 months later, our monitoring actually caught a compromised employee credential that was being used after hours. We locked it down in minutes. We worked with the owner, never even knew there was a threat until we send them an incident summary of what happened. You know, same trend landscape between those two businesses, but completely different outcomes. That's what we do here at CMIT Des Moines. That's the only difference was the decision that healthcare made before anything went wrong. That's what proactive wins every time. If you are proactive, you win. If you are just patching things off, you can lose everything. And let me tell you something. One statistic is that, and someone there can actually look that up. 63% of small businesses lose everything after a data breach or a ransomware. They don't recoup. They lose 63%. And that is going to be higher with AI now. So that is one of the biggest problems that we are now looking forward and what is coming into the future. And can you imagine working hard for your business and getting your business to a position and suddenly you lose everything?
No, that would be devastating. So, Edgar, I'd like to thank you today. I think you've definitely cleared up the question on how a business knows when it's time to move to a managed IT support service like CMIT Solutions. You know, and you've done a great job of telling us what the signs are. So we have a lot more to talk about. We're just kind of scratching the surface here in these first few conversations you and I have had. I look forward to our next little sit down next week.
Excellent. Thank you, Mike. See everyone next week. And I'm going to be here for all of you at CMIT Des Moines. That's what we're here. We're here to protect your business.
Thank you so much, Edgar. You have a terrific day.
Thank you.